At the same time, you've now got $160,000 Cayman.
You're not getting it for $150.
What,
Well, yeah, there's
Sean,
gonna
what do
be
you, with
insane
your past
markup.
experience, Sean, what do you think
There's gonna be
perhaps you
insane
might get a
markup.
Cayman for? Did you hear Donald getting a car?
Yes.
Well, he's been
Well,
hiding. I mean, we knew he was
wait,
getting a
wait,
car.
wait. Can I tell my favorite story about this? So, welcome to the show. It's our first podcast.
Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm joined by Ben Chester and Sean O'Donnell.
O'Donnell.
O'Donnell. I always call you O'Donnell. O'Donnell.
Oh, Donald.
His name is easier to
Yeah.
say. This is our first podcast that we're doing here with the Audrain group, Audrain Motorsport. So we're kind of quote unquote the three young guys that are super involved in
The youngest
this.
we could find. I mean,
Yeah, the youngest we could
Antonio's
find.
the youngest.
Yeah.
Sean's a father
I'm
now.
a little old.
Yeah,
You're older than we are.
that's all right.
But this is kind of an interesting world that we're involved in here. I mean, it's mainly dominated by older folks, I would say, and it's pretty unique that the three of us are so highly involved in really the Newport car scene that's been building so quickly, really because of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years. But I kind of want to hear, how did you guys get started with Audrain, and how did we get together and really build this thing together?
This place, Antonio, I'm so glad you asked. It's almost like I knew you were going to ask. Obviously, we've been involved at the museum for a while. Museum's been open for a good period of time now. And we've been here long enough that we've got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think a podcast here with a young guy and Sean will be a great way to kind of, tap into that. But I've been with the museum and the Audrain for 5 years now. Been doing a lot of museum side stuff, helping to curate the exhibits. I've been involved, with a little bit of filming, even though I have no idea what I'm doing in that respect. I'm glad you
It's okay.
take it easy on me.
We have two new pros
Yes.
behind the camera now, so we're good.
Shout out to Sam, shout out to Matt. I think they can take it from here. But now I'm on the motorsport side, helping out Sean, helping out Ben. We've got a lot of moving parts, and I think that's what's really fun about what we do at the Audrain is, the museum's been open for 7 years and we've expanded so much that,
Yeah.
we've got digital initiatives going on, we've got motorsport events every week, we've got Cars and Coffee on the museum side, but, it's been really fun to watch that all expand. And, I just walked in the museum one day and basically started volunteering, and I never left, so that's how I got here.
Yeah, I think you and I have similar stories. I mean, I was going to a lot of the Cars and Coffee events in 2018, and I got connected with you.
I met you in the museum. I felt bad for this kid. I mean,
Yeah.
he walks in like a stray dog, and I was like, "Oh, this kid needs a home, man."
Yeah, no,
So,
I was really looking for a place that was of my passion. I mean,
Yeah.
cars and motorcycles, and I was looking at all of the people working the Cars and Coffee events, you and David and Ben and Kate and all these people, and I was thinking to myself, oh, how do I get involved with this? So I was constantly pestering you, trying to get involved.
Antonio walked in the museum, and he was so overdressed. I knew he was perfect for the position. he had a shirt. Remember, he had a shirt and tie on. He had a jacket on.
And
He dressed up. The hair was gelled like certain degree to the right.
Yeah, now
was
it's
perfect.
slick back like mafia
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
But
You got the chain now.
well, I've always had the chain, but
Oh, all
see
right. You tucked it in before.
but
now,
yeah.
now it hangs out a
Well,
little.
it does. It goes caught on the mic clip.
Oh,
But
right.
the last time,
So big.
no. Well, when we started, I was a lot more formal, and then over time I've gotten less formal, and it's really annoyed Donald. So I continue to be.
I know. I mean, Donald
Yeah.
doesn't understand your mafia ties.
No,
I
he
think
doesn't.
I think he'll gather. I mean, he's in Italy right now, and we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Donald's new exciting announcement, but
Yes.
I don't think he understands all.
And then true.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
And then came along Sean,
To your
Uncle Sean.
Uncle Sean.
to your enjoyment, if you want to say that. No, I think this is great. I think it's going to be a good opportunity for listeners, viewers to kind of get an understanding of, we're all surrounded by a ridiculous collection of cars, and we're exposed to them daily. And I think for us, myself, I grew up reading Road and Track, Motor Trend. I had stacks of
magazines
in my
Hear
room.
that, Antonio? You had magazines.
Yeah, that my mom made me throw away.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't have a copy
I literally
of
had.
You didn't have a copy of Linkage, though.
That's past my time now. I'm collecting that.
That's true.
But being able to read about reviews and cars, and I think now we're in an age where there's so many young people, kids who comment on cars, and they also have an opinion on how things drive, like we did before we were exposed to these. Lucky enough for us, we've been able to drive a lot of these cars, so we have an opinion now that we've read about them, talked about them, and now driven them, and we can kind of give a view of what that is like and how that's kind of changed our outlook on certain things. I know my taste in cars has evolved since I've been here. I started, before I was here, I was at Tesla for 7 years. And when I first came up to the Audrain was probably around 2016, a few years after the museum was opened, and, took a tour of the car facility and was just absolutely blown away as someone who just has been passionate about cars my whole life.
But there were no electric cars here.
No electric
at
cars
the
yet.
time.
No, there was one. There was one Model S. It was a 2016 Model S.
But that's where you were gravitating
Yeah,
to.
I was more gravitation. I saw Teslas every day at that point. So yeah, then after that, I came up for the inaugural concours in 2019 as
You helped me pass
as a
out
guest.
the trophies.
Yeah, as a guest, and then when I realized that you guys could use some help, I volunteered and I helped Antonio with the trophy. Antonio hadn't slept for like 36 hours, so I had to very slowly
You only had to explain it to me like 16 times.
explain the trophies being handed out and how they needed to be handed out. But anyway, that was really what opened my eyes to what, when I joined Tesla, it was early on, and I really enjoyed being on the ground floor of something, and I saw immediately, especially with the Concours, that this was going to continue to grow and really probably be, and I think we can all agree after this year especially, that we have an event and an organization that really is bar none to anything out there, and I think people have started to realize that, and as we continue to grow, it's going to be incredible to see what, not only cars we're going to keep adding to the collection, but events that we're doing with young timers, with the tours and everything.
Yeah, we've got so much going on in so many different avenues now. It's really interesting to have seen it grow firsthand. When I was interning here, it was 2017, and I used to go to local car shows or car meets, and I would bring flyers.
Yeah.
And no one knew.
Yeah, no one
the
knew who
museum
Audrain
existed.
was.
I know, it's crazy.
Remember when you and I went to the Greenwich Concours in 2019?
Yep.
And we passed out we passed out these flyers and stickers, and people were like, "What is this?"
A lot of grassroots.
Yeah.
Marketing.
If you were to go to Goodwood this year, the members meeting, you would see our flag waving.
Yeah.
A motorsport flag, the young timers flag. So
How do
just
you,
imagine that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's grown exponentially.
Yeah.
How do you think that our group has provided opportunities for younger people like ourselves to get involved in car collecting and the car community?
I think it's interesting today because more young people are into cars, which is great. Like Sean was saying, back in the prehistoric times, you had to subscribe to a magazine, and you had to basically
Not that old.
Yeah.
I was born in 1990.
Almost an 80s baby.
That's when the dirt was created, right?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
right. But basically, I was on Bring a Trailer yesterday, and someone was just commenting on the fact that everyone's opinion can just be found. You can just go find someone's opinion, whether it's in a magazine or whether it's on YouTube. I mean,
and that's what I mean.
the car world is growing.
Yeah, it's growing, but it's also fascinating for us and for me as well. Just my dream car when I was in high school, I really wanted a 1969 GTO Judge. I just loved it, and we have one here, and I've driven it, and it's just like
Billy Bob Sean.
Yeah, it's just, but you get to experience and and I remember what I thought it would drive like when I was, 12 years old, whatever it was, versus driving it now.
Probably very different.
Very different, but also I was, just blown away with everything about it. And we've also had those moments where we had that hero car and we've driven and it didn't live up to that expectation.
Right.
So I think that's what the most interesting thing to me has been so far, just from the car side of things. And I've really started to gravitate towards the pre-war cars, the really old, pre-1940 cars, and what goes into them, and just everything about them, from driving them to starting them to maintaining them.
I think that's what's interesting is, young people, they go to YouTube, and I'm talking, 12 to 16-year-olds who go on YouTube and watch the newest video on the LaFerrari, like when Chris Harris came out with all those videos. That was so cool. It was better than television.
Of course.
Yeah,
but,
it was.
you get involved with the museum. We just had this veteran car tour
Which was incredible.
was so exciting. We'll talk about more about that. You cannot imagine old cars being so exciting and having such an exhilarating event out of 25 cars?
Yeah, and it's just the thrill of a car performing and being able to, the newest car was from 1907.
But like being a young dude or a young woman, if you're into that, if you're 16 years old and you're into LaFerraris, and then you come out to the museum event and see these, there's a 1904 St. Louis here.
Yeah.
We had Stanley Steamers. There were Panards from 1901 and 1902. You see those actually in motion and
There's
performing.
So much soul involved with them.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was so crazy to hear them and to see the owners really pushing at one point to finish the thing. I mean, we basically finished with the group, and I came back to storage. I unloaded a couple cars here, I think, and helped a couple owners.
What were you in? What were you driving?
I was in my Jeep, Grand Cherokee. So we were doing support.
Okay.
But I got a call from Sean. This is like an hour and a half. What do you think? An hour and a half?
This was like 3 o'clock, so this was like 2 hours after the first. Yeah, this was probably like 2.5 hours after the first cars arrived back at Oak Court.
And Sean calls me kind of frantic. Hey, Evan Ide, who, if you don't know who Evan Ide is, he's a Bonham specialist, pre-war fanatic, and guru. He's like the know-it-all
early
guy
car.
Yeah.
There's no one better.
Yeah. He's like the modern Thomas Edison of pre-war cars. And Sean calls me.
That's Fernando.
That's Fernando. Whatever. Shout out Fernando. So Sean calls me. He's like frantic. Dude, Evan Ide, he's having trouble.
We need cotter pins.
You need cotter pins. I'm like, what the hell is a cotter pin? First of all, like, I don't work on. I'm not a mechanic. I'd love to be one, but I just talk about cars, like play with cars. But I don't work on. So I gotta go find the cotter pins, and I run out to Evan, who's on Wapping Road in Middletown, coming up, chugging along at 5-6 miles an hour to the finish. He was like still 45 minutes out, and I get behind him. He pulls over, disassembles a couple parts, gets the new cotter pin, which is like a very small but very strong pin that basically keeps the engine moving. Couldn't tell you anymore. We'll have Evan on as a guest to talk about it. Maybe Fernando could talk about it. But he gets the car moving, and then Sean calls me. It just happens right as they're getting going, and Sean says, hey, where are they? And I said, well, we just got going. They're probably 25 minutes out from Oak Court. I'm going to follow them there. And Sean goes, do you think we should just have them come back to storage? Like, are they going to make it? I go, dude, they got to finish this. Like, they're determined. And the determination of everybody during that event, regardless of whether you're into a LaFerrari, that's your favorite car, regardless of if you're into pre-war cars, it's that type of enthusiasm and determination of finishing the task and finishing the job, getting it done is really like, regardless of what cars you're into, whether you're working on a car or doing a race, it's all about finishing.
Yeah, and Evan said the people he was supporting in that car had an amazing time, and they loved the fact that half of the battle with those cars is they break down. And fixing them and keep on going.
And what's crazy is the kid who was driving it was a kid. He couldn't have been 30. No. I think it was his father's car.
Yeah, and he ran that car in the London to Brighton. So.
Yeah.
Wow. So he has some experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I can kind of. Obviously, I wasn't at the veteran run, but
Antonio, what'd you break your collarbone?
Yeah, I had a little.
He went rogue snowboarding.
A little accident.
Timing was
not
suspicious.
good. Yeah, suspiciously conspicuous.
Yeah,
we'll
convenient.
See. Yeah.
But I can sympathize with the passion of keeping going. I mean, I did the Millimillia in 21 with Donald.
Yeah.
And driving a car from 1940. Okay, yes, it's not a.
That's modern. That's a brand new car.
Pre-war.
That's like a brand new car.
1905. But I mean, I often tell people I've been lucky to drive a lot of cars, and that 1940 Fiat Seata was literally the scariest car I've ever driven with 46 horsepower. It was driving that down the road, okay, in the mountains in Italy, and you have drum brakes, and you have a gigantic steering wheel, and the roof comes down, low visibility, and a gearbox with no synchronizers that you have to double clutch upshift and downshift.
And Donald's your co-driver.
Yes. So Donald is like Donald's the Italian car guy. So it's like, oh man, like I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, I don't want to make a mistake and like upset
right.
Donald when I'm driving this like one of one car.
Of course.
And I mean, he drove more than I did just due to experience. But the day that I did get to drive, I mean, it was. My eyes were like this the entire time. Like my knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I mean, I have a super bike and I wasn't scared on the super bike like I was in that car. So it's these people who are doing these veteran car runs and keeping the passion of these cars alive. You don't really fully understand about how important it is keeping the history alive until you actually experience it yourself. I mean, it's so visceral and it's so much fun.
Even all cars.
Even
I
at
mean,
like 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour.
Well,
in this case, 5 miles an hour with the veteran cars.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Farah just released his latest podcast talking about the veteran car run. And he was saying he drove our collection's 1902 Packard Model F, which is the former Ambassador Middendorf car. And he said he's never been more frightened driving a car.
I believe it.
And you drive a new car, like let's say a brand new Hyundai Genesis. A lot of it's drive-by-wire, so electric steering, electric brakes, electric throttle. There's not a true linkage anymore.
Yep.
No.
That was
good.
Plug?
That was good.
That plug? No, I didn't think you guys caught on to that.
I did.
I'll pull it again. That's fine. I got it written down. But there's really not a true connection between your foot and your hands and what's going on the road anymore. So driving a car like that magnifies all that. And Matt talks about the steering and how, really there's a lot of play in it, and you turn it just into the left, and it jerks left, and it jerks right. So you have to be absolutely focused the whole time. And I think that's kind of an aspect that's getting lost today.
It's that fear factor. It's this is actually
driving used to be dangerous
to kill me.
Yeah, it's overconfidence now.
Yeah.
The cars now, when you drive a brand new McLaren or a brand new Ferrari, I mean they have
all the
1,000 plus horsepower.
They have an 8 for your 8s.
And the new Ducatis have wheelie control. Like there's so many.
What are you saying? I'm not man enough to ride my bike?
Well, you're not driving a 1940 to work. That's all.
But what I'm saying is, it's just there's a lot more to it. There's, which I think is what makes our jobs interesting. Again, is especially when you start to get to the older stuff, even the stuff from the 90s, a lot of these cars have different. They're different beasts. They have different ways of starting them. Their clutch is always going to be different. Whatever it may be.
Well,
a lot of the cars now are very, very similar when it comes to that, which is fine. It's just where we are.
It's just changing. I mean, you brought up a similar point about new Ferraris and new McLarens. I think that's a good segue here, because there are a new wave of V6 or 6-cylinder supercars that are supercars and sports cars that are coming out. I think the Ferrari 296 GTB, which is a V6 twin-turbo hybrid, combined horsepower of 818 horsepower. I mean, if you look at the supercars in the museum right now, I always talk about the Enzo. The Enzo in 03 had 660 horsepower, and that was literally the pinnacle of Ferrari.
Yeah.
That was so ridiculous at the time.
Yeah.
660
I remember that.
And now you have
It's like when the Hellcat came out too.
Yeah.
It was like 700 horsepower.
Whoa!
Yeah, totally nuts. And now you have this. I mean, the 296 GTB is basically.
I see that as like a baby LaFerrari.
Yes.
Like that has so much power. And who would have thought a V6 would be at the top of the Ferrari chain one day? But
I think that the thing I never bought into was that, especially when the Ford GT came out, they used the 6-cylinder EcoBoost, but like everyone was like, oh, it should be an 8-cylinder, it should be an 8-cylinder.
Yeah.
It's like, again, going back to the keyboard warrior thing. It's like, first of all, you've probably never driven. 99% of these people have never driven the car.
You've driven the new Ford GT.
I've driven around the parking lot. I've never really driven
counts.
it. But
count it.
but what I'm saying is, like, do you think Ford really would have put a V6 or the 6-cylinder engine in it if they didn't think it was going to be magnificent? No. And it is.
Yeah.
No, and
it's extremely special. And to me, like, what is powering it especially with the new stuff,
Yeah.
Objectively,
is
yeah.
extraordinarily thought out of.
Yeah.
It's been engineered to the
Yeah.
who knows degree.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't.
I go
So
back.
to me, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, again, like I don't really care if it's a 6-cylinder, if it's an 8-cylinder for a modern, you know,
Yeah.
I know it's going to be great, and
Yeah.
it's putting out 800 horsepower. I mean, that's
And that car sounds great.
ridiculous.
It
And
sounds
there's-
like a V12.
There's probably no
Yeah.
turbo lag.
None,
You know, there's
none. It's filled all in by
Yeah.
the battery. But I mean, the GT is a great example. I mean, when that came out, all my buddy was like, "Oh, you know, it should have a supercharged V8. It's sacrilege." And the thing is,
is.
you know, what I always say is like, have you seen one in real life? Have you
Yeah.
heard one?
Yeah.
Have you seen
And
one
it
accelerate?
sounds good. It sounds
It's
amazing.
unbelievable. Krapovich exhaust.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But you look at the Ford
Unreal.
GT. They literally cocooned the cabin around
Yeah.
two 6'2", 6'3" guys, and said,
incredible.
"What's the smallest engine we can fit?" And the whole thing just literally envelopes the
Yeah.
cabin and the engine. So if they had put an 8-cylinder in there, regardless of how big it is,
It wouldn't
it
have
wouldn't
had the
work.
same ergonomics.
and it would be
And
heavier.
anyone who's really driven it has always said it's
It's
a
plenty.
spectacular car.
Yeah, and I think you know, you talk about V6s. Sound is a big part of what makes
course.
cars cool and exciting. But
Well,
you know,
Yeah, I
it's-
mean, it's not going to sound like a cold start Enzo because there's very few
Yeah.
things like that.
No,
but
no.
It's still going to be. It's
But the 296 GTB will totally whoop an Enzo around the track, and it will be a way better.
would you rather
road
have
car.
an Enzo? Or would you rather have that new?
I mean, I'm gonna totally contradict myself as I just complimented the 296 GTB. I would probably rather have an Enzo just because it's a car of my childhood.
Sure.
And I think that we are, you know, talking about collecting and stuff from before. We are the people that are going to continue this car passion and be the stewards of collector vehicles like the ones that are around us right now. But I think that these new cars, I'm really, really excited about them because these car manufacturers are totally pushing the envelope. They could have all just gone electric.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
instead,
That's a
they're
good point.
still keeping the internal combustion engine alive. Yes, it's not a naturally aspirated Ferrari 458, but they're still making the cars sound good. They're still pushing the boundaries, and they're still giving the enthusiasts really what they want.
yeah.
I mean, you know, connecting it to motorsport, right? So Ferrari is winning in Formula One again now after a couple years, and they won last time in
Yeah.
2019, which was a little controversial. But if I was buying a Ferrari this year and say Ferrari wins the Formula One championship in 2022, I would be so excited to own a car of history. And I think that's why Ferrari is so special, because of how many championships they won. Same with McLaren. I mean, I think that's so cool that you can buy a car that has just, not the same car, but from the same company that has won a Formula One championship. So then you can feel like a Formula One driver when you go 25 miles an hour in Newport with it.
Right.
But,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Just don't go over 25 or else.
yeah.
I think, you know, it was interesting in the 90s with all the homologation cars. Like, we've got
Yeah.
the CLK GTR in the museum.
That thing is.
What a present.
Amazing.
Like, you
But
don't see cars with
huge.
presents anymore. And, you know,
I never thought I'd see one of those in my life.
neither did I.
That's the second one I've
It was
seen.
one of those things. It was one of those things where I kind of just erased it from my mind because I said I'm never going to see one.
Yeah.
And here it is in the museum, you know.
Yeah, I make sure every time I go to the Audrain to look at that car because
Yeah.
I know. I mean, we have a lot of special cars,
Yeah.
and there's, but
It's-
that car is just.
It has
and,
such a
and again,
presence.
that goes to one of those things. I was texting with my friend the other day,
Mm-hmm.
Franco, who's big
Hi,
car
Franco.
guy. Franco, and
Sounds Irish.
huh?
Sounds very
Yeah,
Irish.
he's Franco Bealey. Worked with him at Tesla forever, and he works at Porsche now. And he was asking me, out of all the cars that are in, the show now, I took away the F1 because that's
Sure.
everyone's going to go.
Sure.
If you had an opportunity to own a McLaren
cheating.
F1, everyone who's driven one, best car.
Yep.
But knowing that the CLK GTR is in there and the 959, Bugattis, Enzo, F40, I told them Carrera GT because
That's a good choice. I didn't see that coming.
because again, I've never driven the CLK GTR, and
Sure.
it's a car that if it was sitting right here, I could look at for hours, days.
And you've driven a CGT.
No,
No?
I mean, I've
Yeah.
moved them, but I've
Okay.
never driven them.
Yeah.
Never. I don't
Okay.
consider putting
I
around.
thought
the parking.
you've driven
No,
them.
I've never driven it. But
Any viewers want to bring your CGT?
Yeah, and
We know how to work the clutch.
let
No
Sh-
gas.
Let
clutch.
Sean drive it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to. I've driven them out of here, but that car. Everyone who's owned all the supercars, all the mega cars, if you will, always comes back to the Carrera GT, and it's the
Jay
whole,
loves his.
It's the whole package to me. You know, and again, I've never driven a CLK GTR, but I don't want to say I would feel disappointed. I don't think I would, but it just looks so epic that, you know, you almost don't want to drive it.
It looks like they.
You know what I mean?
It looks like
because you don't want to feel disappointed.
I
And
know.
I don't think you would be. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Joel.
Nah,
has
I
a-
don't think you would be. I think. Yeah, but
But you
get
know what
that,
I'm saying?
I get
Like,
that,
it's
but
such
I don't think you would.
I don't think I would be disappointed at all. And that's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. But it's almost like the allure of never driving it.
Yeah,
and
it's like meeting
Yeah.
your hero.
It's like, yeah, the Carrera GT, and I know I could drive the Carrera GT all day, every day. I would love that car. It sounds epic. It's all analog.
What's your best
not.
Carrera GT impression of the engine? Could you?
I can't do that.
You couldn't?
No.
What about you?
Formula One car.
That's pretty accurate.
No, but again, you know, I think that's a car, and at the end of the day, it's a Porsche. I guarantee you, a Carrera GT in a parking lot, people will just think, oh, it's a weird looking 911 or Boxster or whatever. You cannot park a CLK GTR anywhere.
No. Well, that car is huge.
the CLK GTR literally looks like they copied and pasted like the wrong front and rear
And
onto
it's
one of
such
the
an
craziest
epic-
cars.
it's
of
such
all.
an epic car.
It
I
looks
love that
so
car so
crazy.
much.
But I hope, you know, we're moving into this age where, and we've been in this age probably for the last 15 years maybe, you know, where these car companies, you know, are clearly focused on making money. Like we had a, you know, a crazy time in 2008. We're leaning towards something similar very soon. Car companies are very focused on not going under.
Yeah.
And, you know, the CLK GTR was, they committed all of their money to winning the FIA
Yep.
GT1 class, which they did twice in a row.
Yeah.
Car companies aren't, I don't think they're as focused on bringing that experience to the road as they are profits. But
Ford with them all.
But almost back to that six-cylinder thing, the new GT4 RS. Have you either of you seen the video with
Yeah.
on Carfection? With
I haven't seen-
When he drove it, like,
I saw.
Yeah, with
I saw,
Henry,
I saw
Catchpole.
Farah's video on it. I mean, he loves it.
I gotta watch Farah's video,
I
but
saw when they, is that the one where he, like, takes it on a journey?
yeah, he drove it like 1,500 miles or something from. They were in Portugal back to
Yeah.
Stuttgart.
I watched some of that.
Dude, the noises that thing makes because it's
Yeah.
got that.
Well, the intake is on
The intake's in the cabin.
windows. Yeah, they tuned that car specifically for the driver.
Right.
So that
Porsche
car
cares
is,
about that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they
But
do.
at the same
Porsche's.
at the same time, you've now got $160,000 Cayman.
You're not getting
Yeah.
it for 150 or 160.
What,
Well, yeah, there's
Sean, what
gonna
do you,
be
with your
insane
past
markup.
experience, Sean, what do you think
There's gonna be
perhaps you
insane
might get a
markup.
Cayman for? Cayman GT4 RS.
No
I mean, you
comment.
want the Weissach pack. You want the magnesium wheels.
You have to get the Weissach.
You have to get it.
Why would you get it? It's like getting but
That car
That's
is
just my
so epic.
oh,
Like,
it's going to be. Again, it was similar. The last time I remember reading or watching videos of people so excited about any Porsche or just a car in general was the 911R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that came out, I mean, everyone was saying this is the best Porsche ever made. This is going to be
Yep.
their legacy, and that was around when Porsche said they're not going to make manual transmissions anymore, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
And that
We,
was kind
we
of
might
like
have
their
been
swan.
too young at that point.
Yeah, that was their
You
swan.
were too young. You were in middle school.
Yeah, that was their swan song.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, prices were at
Yeah.
like $600,000,
Yeah.
$700,000.
Yeah.
And then they ended up making the touring package on the GT3, which was fabulous. But
Yep.
going back to that, I don't think I remember hearing, and everyone I've talked to who's seen it in person, who's driven it, has said it is an incredible, and it's living up to the expectation.
Well, you were talking earlier about how car manufacturers are basically making cars to make money, but Porsche might seem a little bit different
Yeah.
because they're making these cars for the enthusiasts. What the whole thing with the 911R and the last manual
Yeah.
transmission car, they really listen to their customers because a lot
Yeah.
of people
Sure.
complain. I still want a manual transmission GT car.
Well, imagine
And-
if Ferrari came out with a manual transmission.
Oh
right now.
my! I mean, I
They would. that
I
would
wish
be-
they would. I mean, that would be incredible. I mean, there were talks that with the 296 GTB that it was going to be manual transmission. Like a couple years ago, they were teasing it, but again, I don't think they'll ever go
even
back to manual.
Porsche really cares about the clientele. They care about the customers. They care about
Yeah, it's
what
incredible.
people feel driving their cars. But even still, Porsche did not make the investment to build a new manual transmission for the Cayman GT4 RS. I guess the 911 one just wouldn't fit physically.
Well, I think.
But that's
too,
also the RS.
The RS is
the track
track.
car now.
Right.
Yeah.
But they still have the GT4. Like, I'm pretty sure on the road you probably wouldn't be able to extract the performance out of
And,
either
you know-
of them. And that's kind of why with the RS variant on the road, I'm saying with the
Yeah.
RS variant that you would use
But
that.
it's still a Cayman. You know, who would have thought we'd have a $160,000 Cayman?
But
like,
not
it
a
has
500 horsepower Cayman.
Yeah, but I just want a
500
manual.
horsepower is a lot of horsepower.
The GT2 RS, okay, has 700 horsepower. That's too fast to have a manual transmission. And frankly, the GT3 RS with 500 horsepower, I think at least if they gave it the option. Listen, I know there's a lot of technical.
We'll drive our 997 right here.
Oh, sure. Well, there you go.
Wait, okay,
That's pretty fast.
I'm gonna be 1 for 3 here and say that is a car that I know that Sean has driven.
No comment.
We took that to Cars and Coffee last year. We had a good little.
No, that is one of the best. That is the.
You always
that is
bring
the
that car
ultimate-
up.
I love that car, and when you turn that it's in the sport mode and the valves open, the exhaust, it's beyond. That
It's-
car is.
Orgasmic.
That car
I don't
is.
know if I could say that.
I think you just did.
Oh well.
I mean,
Anyway.
I've never, I don't drive the cars crazy, but you don't have to, and that's really.
No, you feel it out.
and-
Yeah. I mean, a lot
But
of
yeah, I mean, you make a good point, but
a lot of this new stuff, you have to drive so fast to feel it. I mean, the Cayman, yes, you feel all of it, up to what, 8,500 RPMs,
Yeah.
but I don't know, I still want to stick.
So-
I mean, this is 450 horsepower.
yeah,
You know?
3.8 liter.
Yeah.
But
the
mo-
4.0 RS
But
had
most
500
people are
horsepower.
horrible at driving manual. So like I feel like a lot of clutches and gearboxes would get
I don't know.
totally clunkered in that car.
The problem is
But people buying a GT4,
Yeah.
I get it, and
They
it's like
drive.
people, new buyers, the general public, are not buying stick shifts. It's all the second-hand or third-hand buyers.
Well,
I mean, I'm
well,
hoping they make a comeback.
I
But
think
it's on the
I don't
manufacturers
know.
to put them in the cars.
I don't know if I would agree with
I
that,
think
but we'll see.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. We talk like the new Toyota GR Corolla there's the Yaris in Europe and there's the Corolla here.
Are we getting the Corolla?
I don't know. I think we should, and I think you and I should do a little rally test drive. Just don't tell anybody about it.
Toyota, we're looking at you. We need one of those as well.
But manufacturers are still providing cars like that to the enthusiasts. Even the GR86 that just
Sure.
came out from Toyota. So, and even the new WRX, I think it was like 80%
Sure.
of initial sales were manual. So companies still really, I still think they're holding on
Europe
to it.
more so, Japan more so, are offering cars like this, for their
Yeah.
markets. But back in the day, everyone drove a stick.
Wasn't
Like every car was a manual.
wasn't US GT3 sales like 60% manual in the US
I think
last
so.
year?
No idea.
I think it was. Don't
But
quote
doesn't
me on
surprise
that,
me, though.
But I think it was. So, do you think that we'll see the GT4 RS in the future here on this space?
Will it be yellow?
Could you
Probably.
just give it away? I think we just gave it away.
I didn't hear anything.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll have to see.
Sean literally knows, and he's saying, "Who knows?"
So what are some upcoming events here at Audrain that we're going to get excited about?
We've got so much on the slate. The F1 watch parties, the Motorsport Clubhouse, are really fun. You bring your car, you show your car, do a little simulator action. We're having a year-long competition. And I'm trying to get into F1. I've never watched F1.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a
I
huge
know, I
car
think
guy.
Me too.
But
I never-
I'm
Oh,
trying
man.
to actually follow. Of course, I say, yeah, I'm going to follow the season and, keep tabs on the race. And then I get a text from my buddies, hey, are you staying up until 1 o'clock to watch this F1 race? And I'm like, no. I'm not that dedicated
Yeah.
yet.
No,
But-
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And obviously, cars and coffees are starting again. Have really, even over the past year, have grown
Not
exponentially.
exponentially.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible to see, and the variety of cars has been spectacular
God.
too.
I think it's really funny. People still send us messages
Yeah.
when we send out the flyer. Oh, well, I was parked next to this, Plymouth Neon or whatever. Like, why do you let those cars into your events? Well,
Well, it's because
it's about the people.
Yeah, exactly.
We've
and
got a
it's-
great community here, and everybody enjoys chatting with
Well,
each
and
other
that's what
about
we're
whatever
breaking
it
down.
is.
We're breaking down that stuffiness, if you
It's
will.
crazy
Yeah,
how much
but-
stuffiness there is.
But where else? I mean, that's what attracted me to it so much in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where else? I'm gonna sneeze.
You got all sorts of issues. Broken
God bless
collarbone.
you.
Issues. Where else? Basically, can you go to a car show in New England for free and see a Ferrari F40 next to a slammed Volkswagen Jetta or
Yep.
Passat.
Or a
next
Koenigsegg.
next to
Yeah.
a Koenigsegg.
Shout out Doug.
Yeah.
And you have two, and it's completely free to go to.
Yeah.
And there's like,
Yeah.
That's the thing.
what, how many do we
completely
have?
free.
20 of them this year?
Yeah, at least.
It's nuts.
There's no other place that you can go to and
For
see
free.
500 other cars.
No, it's incredible.
It's
It's what it's grown to, and
in
what
Rhode Island. I mean, who would have thought that this would be in Rhode Island? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was what blew my mind before I was involved.
When I was
this.
in New Jersey, there was one that
in
it was
Mor- in
once a year.
Morristown, or?
It was in Summit, New Jersey.
Back in my day.
On Father's Day, and that was the only like cars and coffee.
Really?
Seriously.
Wow.
You know, so the fact that there's one every other Sunday, people come from all over Massachusetts. From, you know, we've had people from Connecticut. We
Yeah.
have some car groups come
Yeah.
through, and then they come to the museum. They go to
Yep.
and we're gonna have a couple driving events after. What else are we doing? We have.
Did you hear Donald got a new car?
Yes.
I-
Well, he's been
well,
hiding.
no,
I mean, we knew he was
Wait,
getting a new
wait,
car.
wait. Can I tell my favorite story about this?
Okay.
So like a year and a half ago, when he ordered.
It was that long ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, about.
It was a year and a half.
You had
When
to
he,
print out,
when
like,
he
the-
ordered said car, he's like, "Hey, I want to tell you a secret," and I'm like, "What kind of secret is it?" and he goes, "I'm getting the new Ferrari Roma." And I'm like, "Wow, like that's awesome, good for you."
Yeah.
I mean, huge Ferrari fan.
Yeah.
He's like, "Don't tell anyone." I'm like, "Okay, I won't say anything to anyone." Then like 2 weeks later, Sean's like, "Hey, did you hear that Donald's getting the new Ferrari Roma?" And I was like, no, no. And then I was like, wait a minute. He told you, and he also told me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then like a month later, I hear from you. It's like, hey, Donald's getting the new Ferrari Roma. I'm like, okay, like it's not a secret.
That's when
to
Antonio
anyone.
made a Facebook post. Hey, everybody.
No, I didn't say anything to anyone. Then it was like, I don't know. He told everyone, and I just thought it was really funny how it was this big secret.
hush.
And he's
Too excited to keep it secret.
And he said it on the Smoking Tire podcast that you guys did at Motorsport Club.
Yeah.
And that he was getting it, and he actually got his Roma today, which I think is
Yeah, he's literally in
He's in,
Marinello
yeah,
right
he's
now.
in, he's at Modena, right?
So
Yeah.
he went to the Montana restaurant, which is right in Marinello. That's where all of the Ferrari execs
Yeah.
and
Is it like across from the gate?
yeah, not across from the gate, but it's like I've
Do you
seen
think they
it
do
at-
discounts for Ferrari employees? Like, be honest.
Probably not.
I would say
Yeah.
no.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this super historical restaurant. Michael Schumacher used to eat there.
Yeah.
Drivers would come back and they would after
the
they won.
spot.
It is the
It's
spot.
our crew
Yeah.
cafe.
It is
Yeah.
our crew cafe.
Yes. Okay.
So then he went there. Then he went to the factory and he had a factory tour. And then he got to see his car. And last week he sent me a picture of the car. Hold on.
In the factory line?
Sorry, I'm stuffing up right now. It's so gross. So he went to Montana Restaurant, which is basically the Italian LaForge restaurant.
Sure.
And it's where all of the Formula One drivers and Ferrari execs would go after they've won a Grand Prix or a
Yeah.
championship. And there's Michael Schumacher went there. There's photos on the wall.
We got to
of him.
insert the picture of him there. The walls are crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
We got to
it's-
put that picture in.
It's crazy. Like it looks like the walls here at Storage times 10.
Is the food good?
I mean, it's Italy, so
Well,
obviously.
but it's right there. That's the thing. So if it's the local spot, it's
better be
right there.
good.
We're
Yeah.
talking about convenience, though.
Yeah.
I haven't been
I got-
there, but I
I'm
have.
sure
seen
it's
the restaurant.
spectacular.
And as I walked by the restaurant, I went like this.
Oh my god.
Where do the Ducati guys eat? Do they eat there as well?
We don't have time to talk about Ducati on this podcast.
Yeah.
That'll be another 45
Oh
minutes.
my god.
So after that, he went to the factory
Yeah.
and he got to see his car. Last week, they sent him a teaser shot of the car after it got out of primer.
Oh, so is it? Yeah.
So I
Body
mean,
in white.
what an exciting experience for him, really. I mean, that's a dream come
He's
true.
been a diehard.
To win, I mean, not to own and take delivery of your own Ferrari that you've tailor-made. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah, that's
cool.
gonna be special.
I mean, not everyone can buy a new Ferrari. Like, you can't just go and say, "Hi, I'd like the new Roma, please."
No.
And they won't just say, "Sure, sign here, and give us
No.
300 grand." Like, you have to be
Yeah.
someone respectable to get one. So.
That's cool. That'll be. I'm excited. We'll have to talk to him about it.
Hopefully, he lets
But-
us drive it.
Yeah. No, I know.
You don't even care about having it on the podcast. You just want to drive the damn
I just want to drive the
car.
Roma.
Yeah.
Have you driven a new Ferrari?
I have never driven.
How about this? I got a weird
ever.
story.
You've never driven a Ferrari?
I have. I've
Really?
driven them around storage, but I've driven a lot of cars, but I've never actually driven a Ferrari.
We'll have to
on
talk
the
to
road.
Uncle Ben about that.
As much as a like diehard.
I got a weird Ferrari story. I was at 4 Till 4 Cafe in Scottsdale.
Huh?
4 Till 4 Cafe.
Can't 4 till 4. Imagine saying that 3 times fast.
Well,
or 4 times
it's
fast.
like it's 3:56, like p.m., like 4 till 4.
Oh, okay.
So it was like
Alright.
the guy's Nico's a big 3:56 guy, and so I'm there one Saturday, and this guy who's a regular, I forget his name, I chatted with him a bunch. He pulls up in a GTC 4 Lusso, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, my buddy works
Love that car.
at Ferrari. It was Scottsdale, North Scottsdale, and he had this. He brought this down for a customer, and the customer couldn't make it, so he gave it to me for the day." And I'm just like driving
I
around,
love that car.
putting miles on it.
Nuts.
And he's like, "So who wants to drive?" And like all of a
Did you
sudden,
drive it?
Oh, can you let me finish my
Sorry,
story?
sorry,
Isn't that
I
the
got
point
too
of this
excited.
thing? It's
I
a
got
freaking
too excited.
podcast. You're trying to spoil it. So he's like, yeah, whoever can drive it. He's like, but I don't have all day. I got an hour here, and there's like 30 people around. So I'm like, dude, if I could drive this thing, like, let me know. He's like, all right. So 2 people go out and do a loop, and then he's like, all right, man, like, you're next. So I take this thing by myself, like, got on Arizona dealer plates, manufacturer plates, whatever. And I didn't want to, like,
You don't open it
act like
up,
I'm
yeah.
stealing the car. But I drove it around the block, dude. The thing moves. It was the twin turbo V8, and I was like, oh, I wish it was a V12, that whole thing. The
So that
thing
was-
is
that-
a freaking rocket, dude.
So that was the GTC 4.
Lusso.
Isn't the GT? I think the GTC 4 Lusso is the V12, and then isn't it the GCT
GTC.
T or something like that? Is the
I don't
V8
know.
turbo?
I don't know. It looked like a bread
problem.
Oh
No
yes,
problem.
it has a V8 or maybe V12. I don't know.
Yeah, baby.
They look as the same.
Yes. Pizza pasta. Dude, it was so fast, dude. It was a crazy life.
And
Oh
that's
my
a
god.
big
I did
car.
not expect to wake up that day and like drive a Ferrari. That was really cool.
Can you imagine the guy who owned it, like hearing the story being told?
No, it was a
We didn't
dealer
buy it
car.
yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
was it?
it
Oh,
was-
I
No, it
thought
was a dealer
no,
car.
no. I thought it was someone who
No.
actually had the car.
That was a cool thing. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see Donald's car. I think
Yeah,
that'll
that'll be
fun.
good.
I think that'll be really fun.
So, do you guys have anything else for today?
I think this was a good first episode.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this more and share our opinions, and
Yeah.
especially talking about our events and what we have going on in the
Yeah.
Audrain.
I'm excited to get some good guests on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I
Yeah.
think this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell. And that's the bell.